So the first thing I want to do is put on the index page a button that lets me add new data to the database. So new jars of olives in practice. Okay, so I will put it here. And I say something like div class is equal to container. And inside I have a button, so I have a link actually. Class is equal to button. This makes it look like a button. Is success. This makes it look green, which I kind of like. The href, so the place where you go if you press on the button, is gonna be a URL. So I use here the URL helper that will simply go to an add controller. Okay, so that will be what I need. Okay, and inside this tag I want to put two things: a span of class icon. This is to keep Bulma happy essentially, and inside it I put the icon, which is an I of class is equal to fa plus. This is a plus icon essentially. Okay, and after this I need to put another span again to keep Bulma happy, which will say add. Okay, so this should generate the button, and I can check whether this actually works. Of course, I haven't written the add controller yet. That I still have to do it. It will be our next task. So let me go here a moment. Okay. Okay, and this works. And now if I click here, I will get an error. So in fact, we can look at it. But so we need to add the add controller, and that's what we are gonna do next. So here in the controllers, I need to create an add controller, and I'm going to say something like, let me leave a little bit of space. So action add, this defines the URL, and then actually I want to say that this is gonna be accessed both using the get method and using the post method, because this is gonna service a form. The form is delivered to be filled via get action, but then when the user fills it in and sends it to the server, this will be a post. Okay, so this action uses the database, the session, auth user, well, why not, I just avoid it actually, and edit.html or add.html. That is going to be the endpoint, the template. So def add, okay, and here I do form is equal to a form. The table is gonna be db olives. Okay, so here I notice an error. I have imported form, so I need to go up and import it here. From py for web.form utils form import form. Okay. This is one of the few problems of writing this type of code, that per se you don't know where to import the forms, right? So you have to sometimes look around a little bit, which is the right module that provides you with those. So coming back to the task, I'm creating this form. So I'm gonna say csrf session is equal to session. Okay. This essentially includes the secret key for security in the forms, as we discussed. Form style is equal to form style Bulma, which I forgot to import as well. I'm sorry. So from the form I want to import form and form style Bulma as well, so that here I can specify the correct style. Okay, that will be what I need. So this will create the form. Okay, and then I say if form is accepted, so then the insertion already has happened in the database, and I can simply say redirect to the URL of the index controller. Okay, and if not, so there are two cases: either the form is new to be filled, or it contains an error and it is sent back to be filled, so the error can be fixed. In this case, I say return a dictionary in which I give you back a form. Okay, so this is the add controller. This is all it takes actually, but now we need to define an add.html. So let me just duplicate for laziness index.html. I call it add.html, and then I go to it, and what I'm gonna do is simply that I'm gonna remove the button and just here instead put the form. Okay, I think that's all I need to do. So let me restart Pi4Web. Let me reload this page. Well, actually there is no point. Let me go to the add form, and I get the form. Okay, so the olive kind can be Kalamata or can be Ligurian. So let us go to the add form. This is the add form. I can give a name to my olives, for example, piccoline. I can choose the olive kind, which can be Kalamata, for instance. I can specify so let us go to the add form. I can now insert my olive kind. I can call them piccoline. The olive kind can be Kalamata, for instance. The gross weight can be 400 grams, and the net weight can be 320, for instance. I can insert this data, and this gets inserted. I can also see that the validation works. For example, I can call these gross. This can be Ligurian olives, and I can say 1200 grams of gross weight and 700 grams of net weight. And if I submit these, I get an error that says please specify a weight in grams between 0 and 1000. Okay, so this is an example of our validation. We have also seen how the isInSet validator is what generates this pull down list, right? So same for here, I can fix this error. I can say that this is for example 200 grams and this is 1700. Okay, and if I submit, now I get an error here. Now this works well, but there is one problem. I can still insert something like this. So I can still insert a data where the net weight is bigger than the gross weight. We can try it. Okay, we don't have any way to see that we have inserted it, but it went through, and so it is actually in the database. We can look it up if we wish from the dashboard. Okay, so if we go to the dashboard of the app, here I can look up at the dashboard. I can look at the installed applications. I can look at the lecture validation. Okay, I can look at the database. This is my olive database, and we can see that there is some gross olives that have a gross weight of 200 and a net weight of 700. So the question we have at this point is how can we avoid having the net weight being larger than the gross weight. Essentially, these validators that we introduced before enable us to check a condition on a single field at a time. And the question is, how can we check conditions that involve multiple fields? How can we write our own validation in such a way that we can check whatever conditions we like, such as that the gross weight is actually larger than the net weight? Well, to do this, we need to write our own validator. Okay, so I will write it here. And the validator is a function that takes as an argument the form. I can say def validate form weights, and it takes as input the form. I can say checks that the gross weight is larger than the net one. Okay. And then I do something like this. If form.varvs, the values in a form are in this varvs dictionary. So I can say if form varvs weight net is bigger than form.varvs weight dot, we called it. Okay. So in this case I have an error. And I can say form.errors. And I need to decide to which field I attribute the error. I can attribute it to both fields if I want, actually. And I can say this is weight net is equal to the gross weight should be larger than the net one. Okay, and if I want, as I mentioned, I can attribute the error to both fields, so I can also put the same error for the tot. Okay, so this is a function that gets as in argument the form. It can access the form.varvs, that are the fields filled in by the user, and it can set form.errors. If any one of the form.errors is set, it means that there is an error and the form will not be processed but rather sent back to the user. So once I specify this validation function, I need to tell the form to actually use it. And I do that by saying validation is equal to validate form weights. Okay, like this. I pass the function, not without the open and close parentheses. I just pass the function. So let us see whether this works. So I reload Py4Web as usual. I go into my application. Okay, and now I can try to add some other kind of olives, always Ligurian, let's say. And I can say that the gross weight is 400. The net weight is 500. I can submit, and now I can see the error in both places, and the insertion hasn't taken place. Okay, and if I put this as 600, or maybe if I simply swap the two values, actually, maybe that's the error the user did while entering values, then this will go through, and once it has gone through, you can look at it in the database and see that indeed we have it. Okay. So this essentially teaches us how to do validation using an arbitrary function that can check any constraint between the form values, among the fields of the form.